Example 1.3, holding the guitar classical style. Now I have no preference as to whether you hold the guitar classical, standard, or with a strap. I personally get tired sitting in the same position all the time, so it takes pressure off my back to move around into different positions. But yes, there are advantages and disadvantages to each style, and I'd like to go over the advantages of holding the guitar classical style. For one, the guitar is positioned in the center of the body, and that's going to help gain access to all the notes with both hands. For the fretting hand, I can really reach in on this old traditional bulky style instrument. Most modern electrics and many of the acoustic guitars today have cutaways, but that's not the case here. So sitting classical allows me to really reach in and grab those high notes. Now for the picking hand, I have access to special effects like these artificial harmonics. And sitting classical style allows me to reach in and play those cleanly. Another advantage is, well, clearly the steep neck angle. It's almost like holding a cello, and that's going to fit the anatomy of our fretting hand. And this has to do with the alignment of our shoulder, elbow, and wrist. Watch as I do a bicep curl. So it's just natural when you get to this point that the knuckles are running at a diagonal. And so to facilitate that, we want the fretboard to run diagonal parallel to those knuckles. And that's going to allow us to gain access to all the notes within a hand grip. If we were to make one of these difficult chords like a bar chord, a B minor, right now I'm in good alignment. My knuckles are running parallel to the frets. But as I turn the neck out this way, I'm now out of alignment with that chord, and what I have to do is bring that elbow in to adjust for that. Well, it's all taken care of if you sit classical style. This steep neck angle is going to fit the exact contour of those knuckles, making chords like your B minor and then your scales, really anything that you do on the guitar, much easier to play. Now that I convinced you this is a good thing, we can begin working on the mechanics. And that starts with the seating position. So what I recommend is a good chair, either that or a bar stool, anything without arms so that you can move your elbows freely. You're going to sit at the very edge of that chair in such a way so that when you put your guitar between your legs, the guitar doesn't bang up against the chair. You're going to have an open stance to provide room for your guitar to fall between your legs. Now the elevation of the knee is important. So what I'm using is a footstool. It's adjustable. Now you don't have to use a footstool, just anything that you can place underneath your foot so that you can elevate your knee higher than your hip. You're going to put the curvature of the guitar on top of the leg about where the thigh meets the hip. And you're going to do so in such a way so that the guitar is right up against your body with your strings facing your audience. And if you do that, you're in good playing form. Now some of you might be tempted to fold the guitar out like this. And I totally get it, you're trying to see what you're doing. But by doing so, you're compromising your technique. And this has to do with the alignment of the tendons within your wrist. I want you to make a fist with a straight wrist. And I want you to remember that a straight wrist equals a strong hand. And we're going to prove this by bending the wrist and making a fist. And immediately you're going to feel weakness within that hand grip. So once again, a straight wrist equals a strong hand. And we're going to translate that to the guitar by keeping those strings facing the audience. You see, when I fold the guitar like this, look what happens to my wrist. That puts me into a weak position. So there are 2 points here. One, you want your strings facing your audience so that one, you can project the volume towards your audience, and then two, you provide the proper neck angles, enabling the strongest hand grip. And finally, we can talk about picking hand alignment as it relates to classical guitar style. And providing you're holding the guitar correctly, you should settle right in. I want you to imagine splitting your guitar in half from edge through the sound hole all the way to the other edge of the guitar. And that's going to produce about a 45-degree angle. We're going to call this our angle of alignment. And then we're going to take our forearm, not the bicep, but we want the forearm over the lip of the guitar, running along that angle of alignment with half your hand over the sound hole and half of it over the wood. So you can make a fist with your hand hovering about an inch over the strings. And that's pretty much your picking hand alignment for the classical guitar style. You don't want this. This is about 180 degrees. That's a little too extreme. And you don't want this. That's about 90 degrees. That's also too extreme. If you're holding the guitar properly, you should be set up so that when you put your forearm over the lip of the guitar, it'll run 45 degrees halfway over the sound hole along that angle of alignment. And that pretty much covers it for now. More on picking hand alignment in level 3. Now, as you're making your way through levels for guitar, you're going to find that some of these exercises are just plain difficult. Exercises like your blues shuffle. Could pose a challenge down the road. Most of my students do have trouble with that, and I often recommend that they sit holding the guitar classical style, and that usually fixes the problem. So this is just one tool in your tool shed of seating positions, and what you want to do is experiment with each of those and find out what works best for you.